but what you want to get with to get through with the team. What you want to get at the end after a while as a benefit for the team. And you have to think it better, because you can't show up with the retrospective and see what's happening, because maybe it's not going to be sufficient and effectively for you at the end. And you can't get enough benefits for what can be done in this time frame. And for me, this is one of important things that in the case of the Scrum is the role of the Scrum Master to do, because the Scrum Master is committed to the long-term team effectiveness, or should be. Okay, and that's why he or she should reflect on what you want to get, and what is the term, what is the achievement that you want to get with the team, and how we're going to get there. And maybe think about having a sort of plan to get the team at this point. And you can use a retrospective to get there. And why its affirmative goal is important. It's important because it's positively for the team, positive message to the team. And for instance, you can have example like we'll find a way to amplify our strengths of the process, because it's important to know what we can leverage on. And it's important that during this retrospective we find out our common values as a team and we can form it. And what I wanted to show up with those examples is that you have to alternate the types of retrospective also. It shouldn't be only technical subjects that on the process you want to discuss, but have to have also relationships, or maybe organizational ones. Because if you have issues on all sides, and you have to address them in order to correct and improve the team. Also, another thing is that in order to get this, you have to find out a lot of data that help you sorting out through this issue. What can support you by putting this goal to the team? What information can you show up to the team in order to accept that this is really an issue that needs to be addressed at that moment? And there are a lot of things you can do with this. You can have different metrics that can help you, and you can follow them, and just show to the team and discuss about that, because it gives you a fact, something that is not discussable. It's not subject, it's objective. You can have an existing impediment list that may support you on doing that. You can have also some feedbacks that you get from different persons, from customers, from different teams you are working with, and also the result of the actions that you've already taken in the previous retrospectives, because we have to follow also what is the outcome of that. What are if the results of the actions we've taken have been also giving us the expected outcome or not. It's very important also to set the stage afterwards, and this is to share the team, the location, and also the duration. It's important, also important to be flexible on the location and not always do the retrospective in the same place, in the same manner, because it gets boring. So also the duration of the retrospective, even if you find out information in the documents and the different papers or books regarding that and saying that it's 1 hour and 1 hour and a half, it's not always the case, because it depends on a lot of factors. Depends on the sprint lengths, on the iteration lengths, depends also on the team size, depends also on the topics and level of conflicts that we are having on this topic, and depends also on something else. It depends on the retrospective facilitator's experience, which is also important. Yeah, I'm not talking great stuff, but... And one other thing that that is important in the setting of the stage is to check the engagement of the persons toward that. And this is the ESVP. I don't know if anybody knows what it's about. Okay. Unfortunately, I wanted to play this with you before, but due to the time we couldn't. So ESVP is just to check if the engagement of the persons in the retrospective toward the scope and the topic in the retrospective. So we can just ask to every participant in the meeting to express himself, position itself as an explorer, shopper, vacationer, or prisoner in that meeting. Meaning, explorer is somebody who wants to is totally engaged towards the topic and wants to benefit about everything on it. Okay, a shopper is somebody which is there present and wants to go out with a good idea at the end. Vacationer is somebody who is better to be there than elsewhere at that moment. And prisoner is somebody who is trapped in the meeting. Okay? And you can check by this how is the engagement level of the team members in this meeting. Because if they are not engaged in the meeting, you will not take good results and good benefits of that. If you're going to have only prisoners, maybe you should drop the retrospective and do something else at that moment. Sorry?
Take no prisoners.
Yeah. Okay. So this is a good exercise if you want to take it, just to give you insights about how your outcome of the retrospective reflects the reality and how they're going to buy in, how they're going to be engaged and be there with you during the retrospective. About the gathered data, what is important about that is that we are focusing on the facts and we are not focusing on something else like opinions, emotions, and everything. Because we need facts for that. And this is a part which, from my opinion, is the most creative one. You can be as creative as you want on this part of the retrospective. And it's very important not to do all the time the same things, because this is getting boring. People are getting boring by that. And you can review available data like the metrics or the outcome of the previous retrospectives or stuff like that during this phase. You can use timeline. How many of you have already used timeline in the retrospectives? Okay. How many of you know about what timeline is about? Okay, that's already better. Okay, so then you can, timeline here you have an example for one of our teams. In fact, it's from your team. And it's, well, I'm not going to enter more in details because we're short in time. You can find out in the book details about how it is, what timeline is about, what Matt led, the kind of gathering data is, or team radar. Briefly about the timeline is that you can draw a line and then put the significant events during that sprint on this timeline. What happened as facts? I know today we had a meeting and we decided about the design. Afterwards we had a meeting and we delivered something to another customer. We just have a backlog refinement meeting and so on. What happened? What events took place during the retrospective, and what happened during those events? It just helped us remembering what had been going on. Okay, Matt Glad said can give us also insights about events on taking notes about how we felt during those moments. We felt mad in these events because it did upset us, I know it has maybe an event which didn't like. Maybe we were glad during the fact that we managed to deliver in time and we had a good feedback from the customer. We were sad or mad about our management reaction or stuff like that. We don't know. Okay, you can find details of them in the book. And one other thing that we find out, I was in a conference lately, and I liked very much the idea, is using metaphors for gathering data. And this is because you can be creative, and you can be as creative as you want. Like doing the metaphor of the sport, or doing the metaphor of the recipe, of doing whatever metaphor you have in mind, if you can imagine one. And like this, you can gather data. For instance, for the sport, you can take the time for a match, for instance, football match, and consider it as it was the duration of the sprint. What events happened, what faulted, what goals we just gave, how many penalties have happened during that sprint. You can use the metaphor using terms and definitions from that sport in order to highlight the events during your sprint. Okay. Like the recipe, for instance. What is the recipe of a perfect sprint? For instance, you can cook even cookies for the retrospective if you want. There are many ways of doing this, and if you just Google about that, you can find out information which are very interesting for you. What I wanted to tell you is that you are allowed to be creative, and just do it. Don't be afraid, don't be shy, just do it. Use metaphors if you can. Alternate the retrospective types between technical, organizational, or relationships. Change the environment of the retrospective, not doing always in the same room, in the same place, doing the same table. Just go outside if your organization allows that. Get ready for it. Don't be surprised for what's going to happen in a retrospective, because maybe it won't be enough for you. And learn and read. Because the retrospective is about learning from experience, it's about improving the process, it's about communication between the team members. And don't forget that it's the only way you can do in order to transform a good team in a great team. This is what I had to tell you about. I didn't detail about the other parts of the retrospective. I'll let you read the book and find it out. So thank you for listening to me. And if you have questions, or if you have comments, and if you want to share with me information about the retrospectives you've done, just feel free to email me, and I'll be glad to hear of you. Thank you.
If you have questions now, we can take two questions for Carmen.
From your experience, what was the funniest or the most retrospective? From your experience, what was the most fun retrospective you experienced?
Well, the most good one?
Yes.
The most good results one. So funniest, sorry. Well, the most funniest was that we were outside in a park, and we just discussed about what was the things that motivate the team members on doing their job. And it was just outside in the park, in in Botanics Park here in Timisoara, and we just stayed on the ground and discussed about that.
I want to ask you, what time would you suggest to keep this retrospective meeting? I mean, then spring or in the middle, or right now we are having Friday afternoon, so it's, I guess, not the best time to have a retro meeting. So.
Yeah, usually it's not the right time to have retrospective. It's not the right time neither to do the sprint planning in Monday morning. So. Yes, because if we are not focused on that, then generally we are saying that if you have to be the most productive moment is mid of the week. So if you can finish your sprint by then and start another one in the mid of the week, it would be more good solution.
One more short question.
Really short. This one is really easy. How do you make the team members not bored by these meetings? Like,
just be creative. This is the solution for that.
just be creative?
Be creative, yes. You have to alternate the types of retrospective you're doing. Because if you're doing all the time the same things, this is going to be very boring for the team. And it can do 1, 2, 3, 4 times, but after the 5 times, it's going to say, oh, okay, boring again, you have to go and have to answer the same questions and have to do. That's why you need to be creative and not do all the time the same thing.
So those metaphors, they're a must.
Well, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.